Hello to everyone. It's group 3, and I'm waiting for Claire to share the slides with us.
Yeah, excuse me.
No problem. So as we all know, repetition is the master of knowledge. So at least we are trying to, so that's a wonderful thing about meeting so many smart people, because different aspects, different approaches meet. And actually what we did in this presentation is basically trying to capture the wow moment, because all what we see with Netflix or with the cooperation of Myriad and Tencent is that the wow is already there, but it's always a detective story, what is behind. And actually we were trying to capture these wow moments and to identify these wow moments so that we can utilize this knowledge for our future jobs and our future probabilities of wow moments, which we have to capture. So basically the content, Claire, could you go? Thank you so much. So basically the content is the same as the two before, like the change of the business model, which is actually, it's an evolution of the business model. So it's ever changing. And the key question is whether business can cope with the changes, the external changes which are happening to us, and how we can see on the example of Netflix that they are evolving in a very short period of time into the context of the Industry 4.0, and what is actually happening here, what we have to learn from this. Then we will see another example of the model of Myriad and Tencent and how they handle the digital product placement. And then we will see at the patents in a whole, how they connect and how they provide the holistic coverage for the model, actually, for the unique value proposition. And then we will go to our specific patent, and we will try to integrate this into the model so that we understand the interactions better. So if we go to the next slide, we will see why I called this whole thing a detective story, because what we were interested in was to capture the moments when these game-changing instances came into the picture. So I will start with the basic, which was the same as Blockbuster. So in 1997, we have this company. They are suppliers of DVDs. You can rent DVDs, and actually, what we have the moment, what is more, is that actually it's cheaper and maybe more comfier. And then comes the next big leap along the present, that the customer expectations are different. And this is where I will pass on the baton to Clément, who will show you where we can capture these moments of the digital transformation. So Clément, if you can move on with the next lines of this detective story.
Oh, thanks a lot, Rita. So I think one of the biggest game changer, if you look at the Netflix business model, as Rita mentioned, so in 2007, in terms of the value proposition, so instead of the traditional value proposition of renting of DVDs and Blu-rays, they went ahead to introduce what you call video on demand via the internet service. So that sort of was the key game changer in terms of the value proposition. And along with that, you see there's a shift in terms of the key activities, key resources, and key partners. So in terms of the key activities, in addition to the traditional key activities, now there are also other important elements, like, for example, being able to stream at a proper quality, signing of deals with the studios. And of course, along with that, the key resources required also entail having the infrastructure for streaming, and also including the algorithm, and that provides data on customer preferences. So key partners as well. So in addition from the previous traditional business model, now it have to include other key partners, like for example the providers of the servers, the software, and even the movie TV producers, for example. So the cost structure as well, in addition to the what was there previously, now it includes the cost of streaming these movies to the customers. And when we look at the channel, so previously it was primarily the website, but now in 2007, any device that can be used to screen the movies. So that includes things like your mobile phone, etc. And there is also a slight shift, a starting of expansion beyond the US, although limited. And then in 2011, that was the other major shift. You can see that now, in addition to video on demand, there is also they have moved from that to really producing their own TV shows. So a lot of this content are only exclusively available on Netflix. So again, that shifted a lot of the requirements on in terms of the key resources, key partners. So in addition to having like for the key resources, in addition to the algorithms and data and customer preferences, now you need to have the ability to manage the whole production process when it comes to new content. And similarly on the cost structure as well. Now you in addition to what you have previously, you now have to some of the major costs include producing or acquiring your own content and even marketing of the platform, as well as marketing of your own production. And along with that, the major shift in the customer segment. So from only US to limited expansion outside US to now almost, I think, globally, almost in all countries, you hardly find households which do not have the Netflix. Yeah. So now I'll pass on to the next colleague who will be talking about the business model of Myriad and Tencent.
Thank you, Clement. So now we will present the business model canvas. We compared Myriad and Tencent business model. For Tencent, we limited ourselves to the business that were in relation with Myriad. So we'll be starting by customers, and I will present together with Branimir. So as customer, we see that Myriad has several types of customers, which can be streaming platform, media and broadcasting company, but also filmmakers. And at first they targeted the European market and then became global. And they're a B2B company, so they rely more for their customer relationship on the direct relationship between the customer, as a kind of a trust relationship with customer. And they're working with their customer database and the direct contacts with their customers.
Thank you, Claire. So we thought of doing this, of presenting you the cases of Myriad and Tencent together to give you a bit more perspective, because this is a great case where actually we can see that those two companies are somehow in their business model, they're basically complementing in their services in a way. So we thought that it'd be interesting to look at them in conjunction, and then it would be easier, or let's say their similarities, or let's say the parts, the ways where their business model kind of converges will be more evident. So to pick up where Claire just left, I will proceed with Tencent. From the customer segment point of view, their basis is basically targeting the households, at least initially. So initially it started within China with a considerable customer base. And then after they were expanding worldwide also in the same aspect. and their focus was also catering with the games industry, videos, and social networks. This is let's say what they're parts of the industry which they were covering. And also another point of their customers is basically the business to customer companies. So they would needing to place the product for their customers. So this is where it's interesting to see that it's basically where they have this connection to the Myriad's also business. And there we could make our way forward to the customer relations. So Claire will now continue with Myriad's customer relationships, which are formed.
I think I covered already. So the customer relationship is for Myriad is more like B2B trust relationship with its customer, and the channels for communication as direct contact and customer database, and also they maintain a website for to be viewed to the other people.
As considering from Tencent point of view, having in mind that their business or their customer base is much broader, and it's a little bit difficult or different to encompass them all. It's through they had the opportunity to engage them through their own platform, through the website and apps. And this is where how they're engaging with their and keeping in touch basically with their customer base.
So in relation with customers, we have the revenue streams. So Myriad, principally a revenue source, comes from the streaming platforms that are paying for the service of product placement.
Okay. Good, and then we can proceed also for the channels which they're both using. So from the Tencent point of view, the channels which they're using are the ones for the streaming and the gaming and social network platforms. So, Claire?
Yeah. So should we move to the value proposition? So the value proposition of Myriad is they're proposing to first post-production integration of product placement. So this is no a nuisance to film makers to have product placement during shooting. So gives more freedom to operate during the shooting. It can be tailor-made product placement, so in detailed control of where and when and how long you see the product. It's possible to update and remove the placement because the fashion has changed, or there is a new version of the car to be advertised, or so on. And for the end customer, the people watching the video, it removes the nuisance of ad break on traditional TV shows.
Thank you. Great. So from the Tencent point of view, this is somewhere where we can see some kind of a connection here, because the same thing, so the proposition for also from Tencent, like for Myriad, is to provide its customers an ad-free service. So this is what gives its edge, let's say, and really a value proposition to them. And this is where actually one of the best ways where Myriad and Tencent's business model converges in a way. Tencent, of course, then can broaden this because they can provide the service on any device, and then also being able to they can tap into their experience and also their existing businesses where they're currently already engaged, and that is that they can actually bundle those services together. So bundle various services such as a games platform, video, and social networks. So these are all related to the end customers, and also what's also their business proposition or their value proposition actually for the B2C customers. It's that so they actually can offer their advanced integration of the advertisements in the streamed content. So this is what's also interesting. So that's what makes Tencent appealing or attractive for them. And there, of course, by making use of myriad services. And this is also a further possibility is the individualization of such advanced product placement. And this, they can tap into combining this advanced product placement with combining this with actual information about the end users, which Tencent does have from their internal databases. So that would be even a further step forward on that. Having said that, we may continue now to the next, let's say, to next part. Claire, would you please?
Yes.
Big one.
So the key activities for Myriad is based on the algorithm development for the advanced product placement. And this goes together with the key resources of Myriad being its algorithms and the people developing these algorithms.
Thank you. So from a Tencent point of view, the key activities, what they're setting them apart, is so it's basically it's sourcing and streaming video and game content. That's the main business. Let's say what they're doing. One of the main key activities. More in detail, that's on one hand that goes to producing games, because they have also a business unit which is focusing on actually as a producing content of video games. And also on the other hand, on the development, they have the social networks developing, and that's the WeChat. That's a popular platform which is present in China. And this is these are the two streams, let's say, or the two aspects which are the most important from their key activities point of view.
And maybe you can go on to the key resources, because I already covered that for Myriad.
Sure. Then great. Then of course. So to continue, why those two business units are really leveraging into? They're tapping into their customer base and the data which they're having. So this is, of course, with their customer preferences and experience. This is something which provides a lot of value, and these are the key resources which help provide that. Also, what they need in order to make that all that possible. So one of the key resources, of course, is all the infrastructure which needs to be in place in order for them to put that and to play and to keep it operational. So that's all your networks or infrastructure, the servers which need to be implemented. Of course, then there needs to be algorithms and AI developing internal resources. So that's R&D. And also, finally, from the point of view of providing something for the customers, one of their key resources is actually those platforms, or in other words, that means the software that would be either the video and the game catalog as the content which they are providing as a vehicle to the customers.
So in that perspective, we identified the key partners for both companies. So for Myriad, a key partner will be the streaming platform to get access to the content and to exchange video with them. It will be also film and content makers that are willing to integrate product placement and also for exchanges of data. And another partners might be university and school that are training their future developers, or which are developing algorithms that might be useful for them, so that they stay a step behind all the others. They need to have access maybe to academic developments in that field.
Okay, great. Thanks also I'd say we continue with the key partners also from the Tencent point of view. Those could be also of course the video producing companies, because they are the ones who are actually giving and providing the content which then Tencent will be able to provide to its large user database or large user base. Then also the networks, the server providers, who are making sure that basically Tencent will be able to do what they're doing. And also a thing which is providing, so actually the key partners who would be providing these advanced services, which Tencent would be then be able to make use for, is Myriad, on the other hand. So that would be quite nice. So that's quite evident in terms of comparability in terms of their computability or actually completability.
Then finally, on the cost structure, so the Myriad cost structure is mainly linked to its development. So the main costs are related to staff and to server infrastructure to be able to handle the algorithm and all the calculation which is behind.
Yeah. In terms of from Tencent point of view, all of the costs, which let's say the cost structure which needs to be taken into account, is of course, let's say in the first place, what we thought it would be most significant. Those are the clearance of the IP rights. So for the content which there would be providing further. So that's the IP rights, that's right of use for the broadcast rights. Then also there would be this costs of the streaming infrastructure and also of that fixed assets that they would need to have as a backbone of their providing the streaming activity. And also there is a cost of this advanced or the staff which is providing the development and also the maintenance of all of its digital structure to be able to put that are in place. That's from the streaming point of view or video providing content point of view. Another part which is also important from Tencent point of view is it's the part which handles the video game, the game departments or the game part, and those are the game developers. That's certainly another significant part of their cost structure to be, which one needs to factor in. And finally,
the revenue streams. So from Myriad comes from the business-to-business customers, but so mainly the streaming platforms wanted to pay for product placement service, ad hoc product placement service. And for Tencent, I give you
yeah, and for Tencent, the costs, so the revenue streams from Tencent, they of course tap into their large user database. So basically, the subscription model, which is so pervasive, and actually this is the one which provides a lot of the revenue, the most of the revenue for Tencent. And also, this is the classical one, and the one which we think, and we think there is a lot of potential of development, is precisely the end of this collaboration with Myriad, because this opens quite a new open revenue streams or a new revenue streams, which was previously per se closed, because the advertisements in the streaming services was reduced precisely for the fact that they did not offer, or one of their main proposition, the value proposition is not having any ad breaks, the classical ones which we contain. So basically, by enabling to actually somehow integrate this product placement, this advanced product placement in their offerings, is basically allowing them to open another revenue streams from that ads placement, which otherwise would not be open. So that's a stream which we thought we would have most potential, and that's why we included it inside. Thank you. I think from this point of view, I could thank Claire, and that we provided quite a evident, or let's say in parallel, the features which would be important to note for both Myriad and Tencent.
Yeah, and finally, we did conclude where we've given this business model canvas, the parts which needed patent protection, would be related to the value proposition and to the key activities and key resource as algorithm. So now we will handle the mic to Shupei, I think.
Hello. Okay, so we were asked to explain which aspects of the business model of Tencent and Myriad are patent protected. So simply put, what we did was we pulled up patents from the available online database, and we have arranged them chronologically. And so you can see a representation of the patents that Myriad, has been trying to accumulate over the years from 2013 to 2021. And what we were able to see when representing in this form was that you can kind of see a shift where Myriad starts, basically looking for places. So zone sense, right? They're looking for locations where they can put in brand placement into their videos. And then we can see in around 2019, you see machine learning and AI and predicting future zones coming into place. And then in around late 2021, you can also see like how AI for content discovery comes into place. So it was able to give us quite an overview on at least what Myriad was trying to achieve. And this did align with what we learned in the video during their pitch, where they mentioned that there are three main groups of patents that they were trying to, that they were focused on. And the first one being zone sense. And we know that that means, or that refers to the ability to place a brand in one shot, and then you put the same brand in another shot, but in the same scene. The second group of patents is content value. And because I'm just giving a slight overview in this slide, and this is actually our patent, the group 3 patent. We will describe that in a little bit more detail later about, the meaning of insertion value and categorical metadata. And then dynamic addressable insertion, which is basically the ability to then switch brands in the locations that you've identified. And to cut a long story short, we think that these patents, they're basically positioned around the key technical resources, the know-how and key activities, and it also protects, and therefore, as a result, it protects the customer value proposition. But in addition, there are also complementary patents. So those related more generally to video data, which would also be of interest to key partners. So I'm going to give the floor over to Timofey, who is going to delve a little bit deeper into this.
Thank you, Shupei. To identify which aspects of business model of Myriad is patent protected, we took these patents from each of the group, from group 1 to 5, and interpolate them onto the business model canvas. So the patent from group 1, we identified that this is the patent about tracking insertion zones and identifying scenes for inserting material. And we see it as a protecting of key activities, the tracking and identifying the scenes in the video. So for the patent of group 2, this patent is about the placing advertising component, which has to be changed depending on the viewing region of the viewer. So for this one, we identified that this protects the two aspects, not only the key resources, this is like information about the viewer region, but also the activities that the process of inserting the targeted advertisement. For group 4, the patent from group 4 is about embedding the visual objects into the image content of the video with the help of the visual element specialist on the post-production. So here we see that this is the value proposition for the Myriad customer, Tencent, that it helps control and assist the specialist in the post-production process while inserting the objects into the video itself. So for the patent from group 5, this was a little more tricky. This pattern mostly about incorporating the output video data into the source video and to produce the final video data, which further will be streamed on the streaming platform. So this is mostly about inserting the source video into the final video, which then will be shown on the YouTube, for example. So we see this pattern as the key resource, and the resource here is the algorithm of integration and the distribution of this final video, which combine the output and source video. And the final one, and we see this patent as the most crucial one for the Myriad. The patent about predicting the future insertion zone even before the video is made itself. So we see here that this patent protects three aspects. Key activities as the predicting the zone itself, the resource as the background algorithm of this prediction, and the value proposition for the customer here is that the customer will save here resources on the pre-production, because the patent itself can describes the algorithm which allows to find the zones even when the video even doesn't exist. So yeah, about our patent, further Shupei and Konstantinos will give more information in the details.
Okay, so this is the patent that we were meant to study, and in our opinion, why this patent is important is because it transforms how, it actually transforms the entire process of filmmaking, because traditionally, so you would have a film, and then you use software or AI or machine recognition or AI to try to recognize surfaces from a film that's already made. But then in this patent, what they're trying to tell you is that you can start to predict an insertion zone even before the video is made. So for example, you have a script. So if you have a script and you know that, okay, this film is produced by director A and it's in this genre, then Myriad basically looks up source data and uses a prediction model to then predict an insertion value for this script. Okay, so basically from the script that you receive, you identify the producer and the genre, you use a prediction model, and now even before the film is made, I'm able to tell you, okay, this producer, this genre is likely going to give you insertion zones in this context. For example, in a kitchen, you are likely to have 3 opportunities to insert a brand, and each of these brands, insertion opportunities might be of a certain length. Okay, so this basically has the effect that now you don't need to go through the entire video and scan the entire video for an insertion point. So the value created here is that you reduce time and computing resources. You also alter the entire project and time management strategy, which would be used by video production companies. And so Myriad brings productivity for the firm and the client. Now, there are also other secondary aspects in this patent which were mentioned. So the next one that I'm moving on to in blue is matching with client preferences. So you're not only able to identify the insertion zone, you're able to say this particular client likes this type of insertion characteristics. So if there are any characteristics that this client doesn't want, you filter it out early, then you don't have to scan the entire video, right? You've narrowed your choices and you're able to bring a more targeted matching to what the client wants. And then the last aspect is affinity scores. So for each insertion situation, you're able to give it a score. Like, does this have hero power? Like, is this able to match with what the consumer wants? Or what is the effect? Like, what is the mood? Yeah, so this patent basically broadly touches on all these aspects, but like the main part is really prediction before the film is made, which brings a lot of value creation. So as you can see from the circle, that's what I'm trying to present to you, that, okay, it actually does touch on all the parts which Myriad did mention in their pitch: zone sense, content value, and dynamic addressable insertion. But the main part that it's trying to protect is actually content value. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Konstantinos, who's going to talk more about the patterns.
Yeah, so obviously the patent can be seen at least in two different ways, the patent per se. So it's obviously a legal document with a certain characteristics, but it's because of these characteristics, it also has another aspects which is more important for Myriad and its customer. It's actually a business asset. So talking a little bit about the legal part of the patent as a legal document, it's a European patent, and in case you're not aware of, a European patent geographically covers more countries than the member states of the EU. So it has quite a broad coverage in Europe, but also it has corresponding US and Chinese family members, which means that the bigger and most important markets are covered, at least in terms of markets for the clients of Myriad. The claims on which the scope of protection is based actually define a computer implemented method, a medium to store the method, a device to perform the method, and a processor system to execute the method. And this is done actually quite broadly. So in essence, the scope of protection relates to the steps to produce and insert metadata to a specific insertion zone of a new video in an automated way based on machine learning techniques. So essentially, it's a process. It's a broad process. The key element here, as also hinted before by Supay Timofey, is the new video. Because if someone goes to the European Patent Register and observe the documents that have been cited during the prosecution against this patent, you'll realize that all these steps, all these functional features are also present in the prior art. What is not present is the new video. So all these things are possible when you know the video, but these things were not possible before for a video that was unknown. And unknown means, as Supay said, has never been made, has not been made yet, or it is unknown. It is unknown for example, a streaming company like Tencent, when this video is going to be viewed by the viewer. In addition, the insertion zone, the metadata are defined in terms of technical characteristics of the video, like frames of the video, as well as size and geometrical shape of the product placement of the insertion zones that contain the product placement, as well as the repetition or the time duration of these advertisements, as long as the repetition of these insertion zones during the duration of the video. In addition, client preferences can be taken into account, and also broadly machine learning models and the way that can be used also, and the algorithms that can be used to score and rank the results of these machine learning models in a very broad way are also covered by the scope of this patent. And having such a scope, it's a very important business asset because essentially makes the customer experience exclusive. It offers significant productivity gains, as Supay mentioned before, because there is no need anymore for manual analysis and any lengthy pre-processing. In addition, the direct client of Myriad can use that to satisfy its own customers. And its own customers in this case are companies which are interested for a product placement during the presentation of a video. And it does that in a balanced and target product representation that takes into account their own preferences. And this asset, this patent, also claims the means to achieve it in a very broad way, because any video from any source using any machine learning techniques executed by any means is covered by the scope of this claim. And therefore, this patent can lead to sustainable competitive advantages because this broad definition secure very low probabilities for substitutes. So competitors cannot easily go around it and offer a similar customer experience. And it has sufficient targeted geographical coverage to satisfy the business needs. So in a nutshell, if we can move to the next slide, we can conclude that from what you heard so far, that Myriad has built its business model based on differentiation. It has an IP portfolio that supports a value-added monopoly. It protects, at least based on the patents that we had the chance to observe, it protects user-relevant features. And the goal is to create strategic barriers to competitors. In addition, there are at least two major competitive advantages which both relate to the unique user experience. The first is that there is a unique value proposition for the direct clients of Myriad. And the second is the creation of VRIN resources, valuable, imperfectly immutable, and imperfectly substitutable client resources for their clients, which they can use it to satisfy their secondary market. Thank you.